Welcome to Auto News Talk. So, we really have to look at what's happening out there because the global auto industry isn't just shifting gears anymore.
Oh, definitely not. It's way past that.
Right. It's caught in an absolute hurricane. We are witnessing this massive, high-stakes stress test of the entire ecosystem.
A stress test is, honestly, the perfect way to put it.
Yeah, and it's happening everywhere, from these global manufacturing showdowns on the exact opposite side of the planet, all the way down to, the data security of your local dealership down the street. Every single level of this industry is just being squeezed by this relentless demand for speed and efficiency.
It really is a pressure cooker.
Yeah.
Everywhere you look. And here's the terrain we're walking through for you. We're going to start at the absolute top, right? The global macro level of international vehicle development.
Big picture stuff.
Exactly. Then we'll zoom in a bit closer to home to examine the very specific product defense strategies being deployed by legacy automakers.
Which is fascinating, by the way.
It really is. And finally, we'll land right on the dealership floor where consumer affordability issues and some highly experimental new technologies are creating unexpected risks that actually affect you directly as a buyer.
Oh, we're definitely getting into that tech stuff later because that blew my mind. But let's start with that global pressure cooker because the sheer speed of competition is just staggering.
It's moving so fast.
Yeah, I'm looking at an analysis from AlixPartners, and it details how Chinese automakers are completely reshaping global competition. It's like legacy automakers have been running a traditional marathon, and suddenly new competitors just flew past them on electric bikes.
That is exactly what it looks like. And, they're doing it under immense pressure at home, which makes it even more intense for the rest of the world.
What do you mean by pressure at home?
Well, the AlixPartners report highlights that vehicle deliveries within China actually fell by 18% over an initial 4-month measuring period.
Wait, down 18%? That's a huge drop.
Right. And projections point to a 10% drop for the entire measuring window. Their domestic market is weakening, so they have to look outward.
So they aren't pulling back, they're just pushing outward.
Exactly. They are expanding aggressively overseas. We're seeing this rapid entry into European markets, which is just putting massive pressure on legacy manufacturers in Germany and France.
Oh, for sure. We've seen coverage of global market trends showing BMW facing intense China-related challenges, plus all this geopolitical pressure.
Yeah, and at the same time, Japan's auto exports are surging, right, with Toyota extending its lead over domestic rivals. So the competition is fierce across the board.
But getting back to the Chinese automakers competing on price is sort of the old playbook, isn't it?
It is, yeah. According to the AlixPartners analysis, they aren't just competing on price anymore. They're competing on product cadence, rapid electric vehicle development, and entirely new manufacturing strategies.
Okay, so they're completely rewriting the rules.
Pretty much. Yes, they benefit from lower costs, but their real weapon is speed.
So how fast are we actually talking? Because, the automotive industry is traditionally a very slow-turning ship.
Oh, get ready for this. Here is the statistic that changes the entire paradigm. The AlixPartners report points out that Chinese automakers can develop and launch new vehicles in about 3 years.
3 years?
3 years. That is compared to roughly 5 years for established global automakers.
3 years versus 5 years. Structurally, how is that even possible? It's like legacy automakers have been building cars using this waterfall method, right?
Right, the traditional step-by-step.
Yeah, where you can't start step B until step A is totally finished, tested, and signed off. They engineer the chassis, then they do the powertrain, then the interior. Are the new competitors just cooking all the ingredients in parallel?
That's actually a great way to look at it. It's parallel cooking. They're heavily utilizing digital simulation rather than waiting around for physical prototypes.
Oh, so they just do it all in software first.
Exactly. And they're deeply integrating their supply chains so that battery development happens concurrently with vehicle design.
Wow.
A 2-year difference in an engineering cycle is an eternity in tech. If a competitor can iterate their technology, adapt to your changing tastes as a consumer, and launch a finished product nearly twice as fast.
You're just dead in the water.
Right. The old 5-year plan is just a recipe for falling permanently behind as EV supply chains shift globally.
But wait, don't U.S. protectionist policies shield domestic automakers from this? You hear a lot about tariffs and market protections keeping them out.
The report touches on exactly that, and it issues a pretty stark warning, honestly. While those policies might shield domestic automakers temporarily, they breed long-term complacency.
Because they don't feel the need to innovate.
Exactly. The AlixPartners analysis suggests that Chinese companies will eventually gain U.S. market share anyway. It'll likely happen through joint ventures, licensing deals, or other indirect methods.
Which I guess explains why AlixPartners argues for a unified North American strategy. Like, instead of the U.S. competing against its neighbors, they suggest blending U.S. technology and high-value manufacturing with Canadian raw materials.
Right, and tapping into Mexican labor-intensive subassembly strengths.
It's basically a blueprint for regional resilience.
It is.
Yeah.
Because playing an isolated defense just won't work forever.
But wait, this brings up a huge question for me. If you compress a 5-year engineering cycle into 3 years, who is checking the brakes?
That is the big concern.
Right. What this AlixPartners analysis doesn't really spell out is exactly how legacy automakers can safely condense a 5-year engineering cycle without sacrificing build quality or safety. You can parallel cook a meal, but if the chicken is raw, it doesn't matter how fast you served it.
That is the multi-billion-dollar question hanging over the entire industry. And it actually explains a lot of the seemingly contradictory moves we're seeing from domestic companies.
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up because I really need you to explain something to me.
Sure, go ahead.
If the EV revolution is moving at warp speed globally, like we just said, why am I seeing Detroit automakers double down on massive gas-guzzling trucks?
It feels backwards, doesn't it?
Totally. I was looking at coverage of General Motors updating the GMC Sierra 1500 lineup, and it feels like a completely different universe from what we just talked about.
It really feels contradictory, but I promise you, it is a highly calculated domestic defense strategy.
Okay, lay it on me.
So the AlixPartners report noted that U.S. automakers may benefit in the short term from strong demand for trucks, SUVs, internal combustion vehicles, and hybrids. And GM is executing exactly that playbook.
By leaning into gas.
Yes. Legacy brands are retreating to high-margin internal combustion fortresses to basically fund their future.
A margin fortress. I like that. Okay, so how exactly are they building that fortress with the Sierra?
By mercilessly trimming the fat. Coverage of the lineup shows GM is dropping the lower-tier SLE and SLT trims for the redesigned Sierra 1500 entirely.
Wait, they're killing off the entry-level and mid-level trims?
Completely gone. Instead, they are heavily prioritizing the luxurious Denali, the Denali Ultimate, and the off-road AT4 and AT4X models.
Why would you alienate the budget buyer like that? That seems crazy.
Because in a transitioning market, lower trims often drag down your overall profitability. Those top-tier luxury trims already make up about half of Sierra sales.
Oh, wow, half.
Yeah. The Sierra is one of GM's most important and profitable vehicle lines, sharing its platform with the Chevrolet Silverado. And we saw GM's initial sales period show an overall drop of nearly 10%, with Sierra 1500 sales slipping slightly as well.
So they have to protect the cash cow.
Exactly. By cutting the lower trims, they're emphasizing higher margin versions to protect their profit pool in a cooling market.
And the contrast in the actual vehicles is stunning. According to the updates, the upcoming Sierra features massive interior updates. We're talking more than 60 inches of available screens in the cabin.
It's like a movie theater in there.
Literally, an 11.5-inch passenger side display, new V8 engine options. And all of this luxury gas-powered tech is contrasted against the reality that the electric Sierra sold fewer than 1,300 units.
Right.
Meanwhile, the gas-powered Sierra remained the undisputed volume driver.
And, GM isn't alone in this highly pragmatic approach. An analysis of dealer operations from the Auto Retail Daily Briefing highlights that Toyota is also heavily adjusting production to prioritize profitable hybrids.
The hybrids are huge right now.
Massive. They began U.S. production of the new RAV4 hybrid at their Georgetown, Kentucky plant, backed by massive multi-billion-dollar investments.
Wow.
It's all about meeting immediate consumer demand for hybrids while managing the incredibly expensive electric transition.
And we're even seeing smaller examples of automakers having to just, adjust their EV strategies based on harsh financial realities.
Definitely.
The same daily briefing mentions Ford preparing to ramp up production of its first U.S. lithium iron phosphate batteries to support a $30,000 EV truck.
Which is still quite an investment.
Right. And meanwhile, a startup called Slate Auto had to push the starting price of its blank slate EV truck up to just under $25,000. They had to completely abandon their earlier $20,000 projection ahead of the scheduled end of the clean vehicle credit.
It's just a massive financial balancing act. Automakers are using highly profitable, tech-heavy gas vehicles and in-demand hybrids as a financial shield against that intense global competition we discussed earlier.
Okay, I get the business logic. I really do. But what the GM updates don't answer is what happens to the budget-conscious truck buyer now that the entry-level trims are dead. I mean, if the base models are dead, the entry point for a new truck just becomes astronomical.
It really does. Which brings us directly to the squeeze happening right now on the dealership floor. Because when new cars become luxury items with 60 inches of screens, the fallout is a massive affordability crisis for the average consumer.
Right. And when you can't afford a new vehicle, you naturally turn to the used market. But because nobody is trading in their affordable cars, the used car market has become an absolute battleground for inventory.
Oh, it is cutthroat out there. The daily operations briefings show just how much you, the consumer, are drowning in costs. Are you ready for this number?
Lay it on me.
The average U.S. household with automotive obligations now pays $7,140 annually for auto loans and insurance.
$7,140.
Annually, yes.
Just to keep the car in the driveway. That is an enormous burden. It's completely reshaping the real cost of vehicle ownership.
It really is. So, to find affordable cars to sell to these squeezed buyers, dealerships can't just rely on trade-ins anymore. They're having to acquire cars directly from private parties, people just selling their cars off the street or online.
Okay, but that desperation for inventory, that has to be creating huge operational vulnerabilities, right?
Huge. A report detailing the standardized workflow for private party vehicle acquisitions warns that this informal acquisition process is exposing dealers and lenders to significant danger.
Like what?
We're talking about identity fraud, title disputes, payoff errors, and major documentation gaps.
Well, wait, what does a dealership actually have to do to buy a car from a private seller? It can't be that complicated, right? I mean, you hand over the title, you cut a check, boom, done.
Oh, I wish. If only it were that simple. The workflow report lays out exactly what a dealership must rigorously verify before paying a private seller.
Okay, walk me through it.
First, they have to document every single offer in writing. Then they have to verify the seller's identity using a government-issued ID to ensure the physical person presenting it actually matches the document.
Makes sense.
Then they actually have to walk out to the car and match the physical VIN on the vehicle against the title and lien records.
Okay, that sounds like a lot of double checking, but honestly, it makes sense if fraud is that bad.
Oh, but it doesn't stop there. They must check the title status before payment to catch hidden liens or ownership issues early. They have to confirm loan payoff amounts in writing directly with the lien holder, scan and retain all of these documents in a time-stamped digital format, and meticulously document the payment terms.
That is just a mountain of paperwork. But like we said, dealerships desperately need this inventory.
They do, but the report makes it clear that without rigorous documented workflows, they are jeopardizing their relationships with the lenders that keep them in business.
Oh, because the lenders are watching.
Closely. Lenders are actively scrutinizing dealer intake practices to ensure they can prove they followed a consistent process. A strong contract isn't enough anymore if you can't show a clear, time-stamped record of verification.
And, I mean, keep in mind, dealerships are dealing with this while fighting a dozen other operational fires. The daily briefings note California remains a major source of regulatory uncertainty, for example.
Oh, California's always a wild card.
Right. There's a law aimed at protecting victims of domestic abuse that could potentially disrupt vehicle sales processes, documentation, and software systems. Plus, California is suing the Environmental Protection Agency over an effort to reverse key vehicle emissions waivers.
It's just a constant state of flux.
Ugh.
Add to that the sheer volume of recalls and mechanical issues dealers are processing.
Oh, with recalls.
Yeah, like Ford issuing recalls for over 125,000 vehicles due to faulty prior repairs.
Wait, recalled because the first repair was bad.
Exactly. Or the report from Carfax detailing 3.2 million vehicles with park outside recalls.
Park outside.
Yeah, where owners are warned not to park in garages until repairs are done because the cars might catch fire. And we can't forget the staggering number of stolen catalytic converters, over 137,000 reported, with trucks heavily targeted due to their ground clearance.
It's just chaos. But wait, listening to all of this, how is a local dealer supposed to standardize this private party acquisition process? What the private party workflow source doesn't answer is what specific unified software platform dealers are supposed to use to standardize this across 50 different states with 50 different title laws. I mean, the report outlines the rules, but it doesn't give them a magic wand to actually do it.
Because they don't have a magic wand, which perfectly explains why dealerships are suddenly handing over the keys to AI. They're drowning in compliance and paperwork, so they just grab the nearest digital lifeline.
Which leads us to a massive hidden danger. This is the tech part I was waiting for. Dealerships are trying to fix these operational bottlenecks with custom tech, but they end up leaving the digital backdoor wide open.
Yeah. The rush to innovate is creating entirely new vulnerabilities. A deep dive into why dealer-built AI tools could expose data reveals that dealerships are increasingly turning to AI-assisted coding tools.
So they're building their own apps.
Essentially, yes. They're trying to quickly build internal applications to connect to their dealership management systems, their DMS, and their customer relationship management platforms.
And honestly, you can totally understand the motivation. If you're a dealership manager trying to juggle complex private party acquisitions, 3.2 million Carfax recalls, and rapidly changing EV incentives like, Kia Finance America offering up to a $9,900 short-term EV lease buyout incentive just to manage their off-lease inventory, you are desperate for automation. You want software that does the heavy lifting.
But the primary issue isn't the AI itself. It's how dealerships connect these AI tools to systems containing highly sensitive data.
This is where it gets scary.
It really does. The experts highlighted in the source, Paul J. Daly and Kyle Mountsier of More Than Cars, warn that these custom apps are frequently being built with unrotated passwords, overly broad permissions, and exposed API keys.
Okay, stop right there. I need you to translate this for me because I am not a software engineer. What does it actually mean for me if a dealership exposes an API key in client-side code?
Let's bring it down simply. Think of an API key as a digital VIP pass that lets two software programs talk to each other securely behind the scenes.
Okay, VIP pass. Got it.
Now, client-side code is the code that gets sent directly to your web browser, Chrome, Safari, whatever you use, so you can see and interact with the website.
So the browser on my laptop or my phone?
Right. If a dealership uses an AI coding assistant to quickly write a script for a new customer portal, and they accidentally leave that digital VI key pass visible in the front-end code that loads on your browser, anyone with basic technical knowledge can just hit View Source and grab it.
Seriously, just right-click and View Source?
Yes. And suddenly, an unauthenticated user has direct access to the dealership's most sensitive internal databases.
Oh, wow. And this is where the stakes get terrifying for you as the consumer. Mountsier cautions that a single exposed API key or a poorly secured service account could expose your most highly sensitive data. We're talking about social security numbers, driver's licenses, dates of birth, signatures, and highly detailed transaction records.
It turns a dealership's biggest asset, which is their customer data, into a catastrophic liability. The Force recommends some hard and fast safeguards to prevent this, of course. Dealerships must avoid storing credentials in client-side code, limit service account permissions to only what each tool truly needs, rotate passwords regularly, and ensure unauthenticated users absolutely cannot access internal endpoints.
So how do they actually fix the root of the problem? Because just telling a stressed-out dealer to rotate passwords feels like, putting a Band-Aid on a broken leg.
Daly and Mountsier argue that instead of just patching together AI code to solve immediate problems, dealerships need to step back and map out what they call a resilient knowledge graph of their entire operation.
Okay, another tech term. What does a resilient knowledge graph actually look like for a car lot?
It means explicitly defining standard operating procedures, role hierarchies, and job duties in an accessible, secure database.
Like a digital brain for the dealership.
Exactly. The goal is to give AI systems accurate, dealership-specific knowledge. So instead of a chatbot hallucinating answers or pulling data it shouldn't have access to, the tool actually respond in ways that match the store's actual documented processes.
Well, oh, that makes sense. They also make a fascinating point about where dealerships should actually be focusing their energy. They criticize cluttered dealership websites that are just overflowing with vendor tools, pop-up widgets, and aggressive calls to action.
It's overwhelming for buyers.
It is. And they contrast that chaotic experience with simpler, highly effective digital retail platforms like Carvana's.
Yes, Daly suggests that dealerships may ultimately need to refocus on people and human hospitality rather than viewing technology as a full replacement for human interaction.
Which is a great point.
It's a powerful reminder that poor investment in brand building, creative quality, and internal marketing capabilities actually drives up acquisition costs. AI and automation create incredible operational value, sure, but they only work with strong access controls and a solid security architecture.
But again, let's look at the reality on the ground. What this AI security warning doesn't answer is whether local, family-owned dealership groups actually have the internal budget or technical expertise to build these complex, resilient knowledge graphs being recommended. I mean, that feels like a Silicon Valley solution for a Main Street problem.
That is the ultimate bottleneck. Dealerships are trying to adapt however they can. We see an Indiana dealer launching a digital arbitration platform to centralize problem vehicles and report fraudulent purchasers. We see Carfax and UVI combining vehicle inspection and history data into a single workflow to surface overdue maintenance and unresolved recalls.
Everyone is just trying to find a shortcut.
Right. We see Hawk Auto Group reducing volume by up to 20% while maintaining revenue through operational efficiency, and All-American Ford expanding its mobile service strategy. But doing all of this securely while fending off identity fraud and managing unverified AI code requires resources that many simply don't have.
Man, so we've covered a massive amount of ground here today, from the speed of Chinese manufacturing to exposed API keys on a local car lot. How do we tie all of this together?
Well, if we look across all the evidence we've discussed, three clear themes emerge.
Okay, let's hear them.
First, there's a relentless demand for speed. The AlixPartners analysis overwhelmingly supports this, demonstrating how Chinese automakers are forcing the entire global industry to accelerate product cadence and shrink development timelines from 5 years down to 3.
Speed is king. Got it. And second, we're seeing a massive flight to premium margins.
Yes, which is supported clearly by GM cutting the lower SLE and SLT trims on the Sierra 1500. They have to protect their profits to ensure they have the financial war chest needed to survive this global EV transition.
Right. And the third theme is the hidden risk of operational shortcuts. Dealerships are drowning, and the shortcuts they take are creating huge liabilities.
Exactly. We saw this supported by the warnings on informal private party vehicle acquisitions and the severe cybersecurity risks outlined regarding dealer-built AI applications exposing DMS data.
But, there are also massive tensions here. The industry seems to be pulling itself in opposite directions.
Precisely. The first major tension is a strategic one. The AlixPartners source makes the case that survival depends entirely on rapid EV development and extreme cost competitiveness. Yet, the GM Sierra source shows domestic automakers actively surviving by leaning heavily in the exact opposite direction, doubling down on traditional gas-powered V8s and high-margin luxury trucks.
It's a massive disconnect between the global mandate for cheap EVs and the domestic reality of expensive gas trucks. And the second tension happens right at the dealership level.
Right, it's an operational contradiction. Dealerships are desperate for fast, frictionless inventory intake from private sellers just to stock their lots because of the affordability crisis.
Right.
But the private party acquisition source shows that lenders are demanding the exact opposite. Slow, highly documented, rigorous compliance and verification.
It's just a total wait, no, it's a massive contradiction. So what does this all mean for you, the listener? Whether you're an industry insider or just someone hoping to buy a used RAV4 without getting your identity stolen.
The single practical takeaway from all of this is that in the modern auto industry, innovation without a secure foundation isn't an upgrade. It's a liability. Whether that's an automaker trying to condense a 5-year engineering cycle into 3 years, a dealership accepting an unverified car title just to get inventory, or a manager deploying an unsecured AI app that exposes your social security number speed without structure, is incredibly dangerous.
It is a sobering thought, and it wraps up this segment of Auto News Talk perfectly. As cars become rolling computers with 60 inches of interior screens, the biggest threat to the industry might not be a foreign competitor on the highway, but a single line of unsecured code sitting in a local dealership's back office.
A digital vulnerability hidden in plain sight.
Keep a close eye on how your local dealership handles your data the next time you walk in for a test drive. Are they focused on secure hospitality, or are they relying on a chaotic web of poorly integrated tech tools? Thanks for joining us for Auto News Talk. We'll be watching closely to see what happens when the drive for efficiency finally outpaces the safeguards designed to protect us.